Generally in solo runs, first forms are pretty over-leveled in the late game, because they kind of have to be for the challenge of the Elite Four, and even certain gym leaders, and I have no idea if I'm going to even be able to complete this Nuzlocke, and if I do, it sure as hell won't be deathless. Today, we're going to attempt a Nuzlocke using only first form Pokemon. The rules are in the description, but in short, your standard hardcore Nuzlocke rules apply. No over-leveling past the gym leader's ace, first encounter on each route unless it's an evolved Pokemon or a single stage species, no items in battle, and if a Pokemon faints, it's considered dead. And if the title didn't make it obvious, we're only using first forms. Again, no single stage species and no legendaries. So let's get started. Now you might be thinking, who are we going to pick for our starter? And I consulted Bulbapedia for this for the hardcore Nuzlocke rules when it comes to your trainer ID, and since ours ends with a 7, that means we're going to be picking Squirtle. And I'm alright with this. I wanted Squirtle or Bulbasaur to start this challenge. Unfortunately, things don't start out the best for me, as we lose the lab battle. But you don't lose the Nuzlocke because you haven't gotten Pokeballs yet, so that's good. But unfortunately, this attempt wouldn't last long, because once I do get Pokeballs, I venture back to Route 1, and my first encounter is a Rattata. No problem catching this thing, but then I make a mistake not going to the Pokemon Center to heal, and head straight to Route 22 where I encounter a Spearow. And while I do get 2 tackles off as it hits me with a peck and growl, its second peck critical hits my starter, knocking it out as we have our first death of the run. I had the option to run after this battle, but I decided to send out my rat, who stands no chance against the bird, and that's the first run dead. And while I could have defeated Brock with just my rat, Squirtle would have made it much easier thanks to learning Bubble well before his level cap of 14, so let's run it back. In this second attempt, since our trainer ID ends with a 4, that means we're going to be picking Charmander, the starter that I didn't want of the 3. Oh well, you play the cards you're dealt. At least I win this lab battle though. This time instead of a Rattata on Route 1, the game gives me a Pidgey, which I easily catch after weakening it with Scratch. And on Route 22, instead of a Spearow, we get Nidoran female. If we were evolving our Pokemon, this would be a pretty nice team. I'd have a Charizard and a Nidoqueen eventually, but that's not the case today. After a bit of early route grinding for stat experience, I head to Route 2, and my default encounter here is a Rattata, although I could have gotten Caterpie outside of here, but it is going to be my encounter for Viridian Forest. I'm not going to bother showing you guys me catching that one. After grinding the team to level 13, let's go ahead and take on our first gym leader, Brock. He leads Geodude as I lead Charmander. If I still had Squirtle, this would be an easy 1 or 2 shot on both of his Pokemon, but Ember has to 6-shot the Geodude. I don't even get any crits or burns against it. He sends out his ace Onix and I stick with our starter, hitting it with Embers until it reaches about a 3rd health left. Because it did hit me with a Screech and I'm on about a 3rd HP myself, I swap to Rattata. I've trained this thing to his level cap of 14 so it has Hyper Fang, which I knew I would need against Brock. And after tail whipping through the 2 turns of Bide, 2 Hyper Fangs take out Onix and earn us the first badge. After battling through the trainers on Route 3, we have our next encounter on this patch of grass, a Jigglypuff, and this thing was very annoying to catch. It only has Sing to this point, and because it's level 3, I didn't want to risk knocking it out, so I send in Caterpie, who gets put to sleep over and over. I try just chucking balls at this thing, which doesn't work, and I actually almost run out of Pokeballs trying to catch it. And while Jigglypuff is rather frail, an additional normal type can provide quite a bit of diversity on the team. I could keep Rattata as my physical attacker and dump special TMs into this thing. And speaking of TMs, Mount Moon is the home of some early game ones such as Water Gun and Mega Punch, but it's also the home of our next encounter, a Zubat. I would have preferred Paris or Clefairy, but Zubat is the most common encounter in this place. I don't see it making the final roster, let alone making it through this Nuzlocke without dying. At the end of Mount Moon, we have a choice between the Dome Lord and Lord Helix in their first forms, and I think Lord Helix will make a bigger impact than the Dome Lord, so we take his remains with us. After healing up in Cerulean, I backtrack to Route 4, and thanks to the power of video editing, we have our next encounter, a Sandshrew. I thought I was going to knock this thing out accidentally after confusing it, but it thankfully stays in the ball. Now we have an answer to Surge. After leveling the team up, I'm going to take on Misty before the rival, because I'd like to have the Bubble Beam TM beforehand. Her lead is Staryu and I lead Pidgey. I get 4 sand attacks set up on this thing, as Misty brings my bird under half HP and uses an X defend. I switch to Rattata, who can take out her lead star with 3 Hyper Fangs. Starmie comes in, and its Water Gun, without a crit, brings Rattata from 35 HP to 3. I don't want to lose this thing this early, so I swap to Jigglypuff, who takes a Water Gun that does about half, and I need to put Starmie to sleep, or this is probably a wipe. And I do, after an X defend. I set up 2 defense curls for some attack badge boost before pelting this thing with Mega Punches. Starmie wakes up in time to take Jigglypuff down to 7 HP as I bring it to low red health. I didn't want to sack Jigglypuff, and watching this back, Rattata would have been the play because it has priority quick attack. Zubat ends up being my sacrifice because Caterpie is currently in the box, otherwise it would have been it. After Zubat dies, me in the moment sent out Nidoran female for some reason, but it thankfully tanks a Bubble Beam on 4 HP and finishes Starmie with a scratch. That was a bit close. After releasing our fallen comrade Zubat, I head to Nugget Bridge to take on the rival. I lead Sandshrew against Pidgeotto and hit it with a few sand attacks to hopefully not get hit by any of its attacks, which works for the most part, but it unfortunately does hit me with a sand attack, as 3 slashes take it out. While that 1 sand attack does affect me against Abra, when Slash hits, it one-shots, along with Rattata before his Ace Squirtle comes in. I'm going to swap to Jigglypuff, who puts the turtle to sleep and pelts it with Mega Punches until it faints. After battling past the 5 trainers and Rocket Grunt, we can catch a new party member on Route 24, a Bellsprout. Having access to a setup move in Growth and learning the trapping move Wrap is going to be a great addition to the team. I'm expecting big things from this thing. Just ahead is Route 25, and right before I was about to give up because I thought we couldn't encounter anything new, I come across an Abra. This psychic type will be huge once we get to the mid-game, if I can capture it, because it only has teleport by level up. I chuck a ball and pray, and we get it. Yes! From here, nothing eventful happens on the way to Bill's as we head down to Vermilion, although on Route 6, I encounter a Meowth, and while I don't think it'll make an impact on the team, since it doesn't have quite the TM coverage as Jigglypuff does, it's nice to always have more Pokemon. And speaking of Jigglypuff, our lovable Puffball unfortunately meets her end thanks to the last mandatory trainer before Vermilion. Mega Punch leaves his Spearow on low red health. It then gets a 5-hit combo with Fury Attack that crits, and takes out our Puffball, who I also taught the Bubble Beam TM to. This is also why I tend to hold on to TMs as long as possible in these challenges, because it sucks when you teach it to a Pokemon and then they die not too long after. Charmander is able to finish off the bird and bring the following Raticate to about half health before I need to swap out for Pidgey, because I'd rather not lose my starter this early, and after hitting the rat with some sand attacks, 2 quick attacks take it out, preventing any more deaths. Upon entering Vermilion, we released Jigglypuff into the wild before venturing onto Route 8. I was really hoping to come across a Drowsy here, but we get our Run 1 Ender, a Spearow. It does learn Drill Peck by level up later on, and could possibly be useful when it comes to Erika's gym as backup to Charmander. I also venture into Diglett's cave to catch the Mole Pokemon as a backup to Sandshrew, and this one is 2 levels away from learning Dig. On the SS Anne, I'm going to pick up a few items. The TM for Body Slam, the TM for Rest, and then take on the rival. Rattata easily takes care of Pidgeotto and the rival's Raticate before he sends out Kadabra. It gets a critical hit with Confusion and gives us our 3rd death of the run. No, I didn't want to lose the rat. I send out Sandshrew for a revenge KO after it gets pelted with a Confusion. Wartortle is last, and I swap to Bellsprout for the type advantage, and I play this battle terribly. I should have just went Sleep Powder and Vine Whip, or even straight up Vine Whip, but you see me use Wrap, miss a Sleep Powder, and Wartortle nearly takes me out, but Bellsprout hangs on barely, and we're moving on. Goodbye, Rattata, you will be missed. The trash can puzzle didn't take terribly long to solve this time, which is nice. I love just using Pokébite to auto-solve this thing during my solo runs. It's great. Lieutenant Surge is the next gym leader, and Sandshrew is going to solo his team. His most dangerous Pokemon is his lead Voltorb, because it outspeeds and has Sonic Boom, which will do a flat 20 HP with every hit, and considering Sandshrew only has 56 HP, 3 of them will KO, and while Voltorb had the opportunity after the first, Surge uses an X-Defend and Screech, as 3 slashes take it out. Pikachu has Quick Attack, but the Electric Mouse is frail as Slash one-shots, and Raichu only has electric moves aside from Growl, so we win. As we venture towards Rock Tunnel, Routes 9 and 10 have no new encounters. At least Route 10 we will once we get access to Surf and Rods. So through the power of video editing, we're going to jump to our Rock Tunnel encounter, a Geodude. I personally would have preferred Machop, and I think we still have a chance at one in Victory Road, but I don't believe the fighting type would have made the final roster. It just would have been something nice to have for the mid to late game. The Slowpokes on the Pokemaniacs teams are a bit annoying, with Confusion being a harder hitting special move for this part in the game, and Headbutt is a decently strong option as well, but at least they don't have any water moves. Unfortunately, this is also where Pidgey meets its end, as I take a risk setting up one more sand attack on the second Pokemaniac Slowpoke. It gets through my sand, hits Confusion, and Pidgey faints. That's 4 deaths so far, and we don't even have 4 badges. Sandshrew can come in and get the revenge KO with 4 slashes, and again, it's a good thing these things don't have any water moves to this point, and if you're wondering how the self-destructing hiker goes, he's easy. 1 growth, 3 vine whips, moving on. After exiting Rock Tunnel, I beeline it to Celadon because this is where things start to really open up. Heading straight to the department store, I can buy a freshwater, soda pop, and lemonade, giving them to the little girl for Ice Beam, Rock Slide, and Tri Attack. I can also use an extra freshwater to enter Saffron and head to Mr. Psychic's house and get the TM for Psychic, and it's time for trainers to start fearing Abra because this thing has a special move. Before heading to the Rocket Hideout though, I'm going to head to Route 16 to grab the HM for Fly, but I also get an additional encounter here, a Doduo, which is just a better Spearow in my opinion, and with the Grass Gym right here, it will put in some work. Before heading to the Rocket Hideout, I did take some time to fly back to Route 1 and do some stat experience grinding with Abra and the team. After all of this, I go through the Rocket Hideout, crushing the grunts, and now it's time to face Giovanni. I easily take out his Onix and Rhyhorn with Abra's Psychic, but hesitated against Kangaskhan. Even though it has bad special, it tends to hang on from special attacks, even from Pokemon with a decent special stat at around this level, and I didn't want to see a Comet Punch or Bite take out my frail Psychic type, and even Rage could possibly be deadly for Abra, so I swapped to Sandshrew, and I do see Rage. But this is also bad, because with every blow I deal to Kangaskhan, its attack will rise, and after 2 attack boosts, I begin to sweat. I don't want to lose Sandshrew, so I swap to my other ground type Diglett, as Giovanni uses a guard spec. I wish we had a sponsorship on this channel. I would hype the hell out of guard spec. Jokes aside though, I attempt to go for a sand attack to lower Kangaskhan's accuracy, but it outspeeds and Rage just wipes Diglett out. Death number 5. This does give me a free swap into Abra though, and at its current health, I don't think Kangaskhan will tank a Psychic, and it doesn't. The run continues, but at what cost? Goodbye, Diglett. I promise your sacrifice will not be in vain. Also, if you're wondering why I have ducks, I caught an additional Spearow outside of Vermilion, so I could have an HM Pokemon to traverse the overworld. Before taking on Erika, I'm going to head to Pokemon Tower to battle my rival, but I also want to catch our almost guaranteed encounter here. The rival tells me my Pokemon don't look dead, and that's because the dead ones have already been released. Anyway, he doesn't have to release his, lucky bastard. Abra is able to solo his entire team, Psychic and Tri-Attack, which I taught at this move just to have something else even though Abra has god-awful physical attack. Get the job done. And now let's catch our encounter for Pokemon Tower, Ghastly, a fast special attacker with immunity to normal and fighting moves, and learns the sleep-inducing move Hypnosis by level up. You can see that it's a bit of a pain in the ass to capture, but I think it's going to be an awesome team member to have, and we still have plenty of special TMs we can teach this thing. After completing Pokemon Tower, I'm going to battle Erika to open up all of our options. Since 2 of her 3 Pokemon are part poison types, this is a pretty easy battle. I just leave my cursor on Psychic, aside from setting up a Reflect on Tangela. 3 up, 3 down, 4 badges in our pocket, let's move on. I'm going to head south of Lavender Town to routes 12 and 13. I'm going to head to the Fishing Guru's house to get the Super Rod, which will open up a few spots for encounters, including one here. And I'll be real, I didn't look at encounter tables for the Great and Super Rods. I was hoping for a Poliwag or even a Slowpoke, but we end up with a Goldeen. I don't end up using this Pokemon, but I do end up making use of our encounter on Cycling Road, and I didn't know you could catch this here, probably because I never fish here. And this opens up other encounter possibilities on other routes, as we get a Tentacool, and this is honestly one of the best first forms we could get in a run like this. A decent special and speed stat, learns the trapping move Wrap, and gets access to a badge boosting move in Barrier, and can learn Swords Dance. When it comes to the Safari Zone, a lot of Nuzlockes usually do it as a 1 encounter per zone. I'm not going to do that for this playthrough, and it would have been nice to get something like Execute or Rhyhorn, but getting Paris, I'm not mad at this. Paris could be useful for what's left. Before I take on Koga, I'm going to make a pit stop to Silphco. There are 2 important TMs I want to grab here. The first is the TM for Swords Dance, and the second is going to be the Earthquake TM. Earthquake I know I'm going to put on Sandshrew right away. My only other option for Pokemon who could have learned it is Diglett, who died in the Rocket Game Corner. Diglett also learns it by level up, so it kind of just defaults to Sandshrew. But when it comes to Swords Dance, I don't know who I want to give that to. I have a few party members that can learn it right now. Bellsprout, Charmander, Tentacool, Sandshrew. I don't want to use it too early because I don't want to teach it to someone that I end up not using in the league, and I have a feeling I'm going to need it. Thanks to the power of video editing, we're going to jump back to Fuchsia and the Koga battle. I lead with Abra and leave my cursor on Psychic. No problems here. Now that we can use Surf outside of battle, I'm going to go south to Cinnabar. We do have some encounters that open up by fishing on the island and Pokemon Mansion. Our first one is going to be an additional fire type, Ponyta. I believe Ponyta has the highest average base stat, keyword there, average, of any of the first form Pokemon, but unfortunately it has a very limited move pool, and Charmander is going to be the better fire type should we choose to go that route. While fishing outside of the mansion, I catch myself a Staryu, and this thing has a wide variety of TMs it can learn, and I think it's going to be a great addition to the team. While here, I might as well take on Blaine. I have a water Pokemon and a ground type as backup. I should be fine, and this one goes just like you think it would. I can badge boost against Growlithe, who's only going to use agility because Psychic move, Poison type, super effective. I then move my cursor to Surf and get 4 one-shots. Moving on. With 6 badges in hand, I need to head back to Sylph to progress the story, and that means defeating Rival 5. This battle does have me a bit nervous, because he does have 3 fully evolved Pokemon on his team, one of which being an Alakazam. I'm going to roll the dice with Tentacool and Prey. After one-shotting Pidgeot with Ice Beam, I set up 3 barriers for badge boost on Growlithe before one-shotting it with a Surf, and Execute with an Ice Beam before moving on to the Psychic Menace. And I'm going to use Wrap to chip it down until Surf can knock it out like we do here. Last is Blastoise, and I'm going to do the same to it. Although I could have made this a lot easier on myself sending out Ghastly, who has a very good special stat, and also I taught the Thunderbolt TM too. I could have probably 1 or 2 shot Blastoise with it, who only has Bubble and Water Gun for special moves to this point. But no harm, no foul. We move on. Like I did in the Ice Nuzlocke, I'm going to pick up Lapras from the old man, because I haven't taught Strength to any of my Pokemon, and I haven't caught something for Strength. You saw earlier in the playthrough I grabbed Ducks for Cut, and I just thought I'd add this in as well. We have the battle against Giovanni to wrap up business in Sylph. set up 3 barriers, use Surf 4 times, win the battle. Just around the corner is another Alakazam we have to face in Sabrina's gym, the last gym leader we have to defeat before Viridian City Gym opens up, and I thought about how I was going to tackle her gym for a while, and I think I came up with a good plan. The Paris we caught in the Safari Zone is going to be our lead, because Paris has Spore, a 100% accurate sleep move. The only problem? Paris is slow as dirt, so Kadabra does tag me with a Psybeam doing a quarter. Thankfully it didn't crit or go for Psychic, which probably would have one-shot our little bug. We put the Psychic type to sleep and set up growths until we outspeed, which is 4 in total, but I end up setting up 5. Thankfully Kadabra cooperates and stays snoozing, and Leech Life one-shots the frail Psychic type. Leech Life will 2-shot Mr. Mime, who just goes for Light Screen, as well as Venomoth, who I put to sleep because I didn't want it to hit me with a Psybeam or paralyze me with Stun Spore as we move on to her ace Alakazam. It outspeeds but just sets up Reflect, as I put it to sleep with Spore, set up our final growth, even though I didn't have to, and 2 slashes take it out. No deaths in Celadon City. This is turning out pretty well. Let's just jump straight to Giovanni. You guys already know, I'm going to set up barriers for badge boost so we outspeed Dugtrio, move our cursor to Surf, and get 5 one-shots. Simple battle, 8 gym badges in hand. Before facing the final rival, I head to Seafoam Islands because I was really hoping to get Slowpoke as my encounter, but we end up with a Krabby. Not the worst encounter, but not what I wanted. I also make sure to head back to Cinnabar and revive Lord Helix since I forgot to the first time around. Let's go ahead and face Rival 6. I'm going to go with the same strategy I used against Rival 5, leading Tentacool and setting up a single barrier on Pidgeot before setting up the remainder on Rhyhorn, and getting one-shot sweeps until I reach Alakazam. This thing now has Psychic on its learn set, and if Rap misses, it's a death sentence, at least for Tentacool, but it thankfully doesn't. I can finish it with a Surf and use the same strategy on Blastoise, except I switched to Surf a lot sooner because none of its attacks can do much to me. It took a little bit of theory crafting to come up with this final team, and there's going to be another one of those wait till the end of the video moments like there was in the Ice-type Nuzlocke, and you'll know why, but this is the final team I came up with. We have our trusty Tentacool, whose moveset has not changed: Surf, Ice Beam, Barrier, and Wrap. Abra, our trusty Psychic type with great speed and special, but frail attack and defense with Psychic, Tri-Attack, Teleport, and Reflect. I never picked up another TM to teach over Teleport, and it was useful for overworlding. I could have deleted it for something like Mega Punch or Thunder Wave just to name some moves, but Abra's not going to be using anything other than Psychic anyway. Bellsprout, our trusty Grass type, which watching this back, you might be wondering why I'm taking this over something like Ghastly, and I'll be real, I don't remember exactly why, but probably because it has a sleep, trapping, and badge boosting move in Razor Leaf, Growth, Wrap, and Sleep Powder. Remember, Razor Leaf isn't guaranteed to crit with Bellsprout due to its base speed. Paris, making another appearance with Slash, Growth, Leech Life, and Spore. Staryu, who I call our all-or-nothing Pokemon, you'll see why by its moveset, but also why I say wait until the end of the video. I did back up my save file here, and will do an attempted second run through the league without this thing, because it's rocking Thunder, Blizzard, Hydro Pump, and Minimize. When it comes to evasion boosting moves, if the Pokemon learns it by level up, I don't mind using them. I know others feel the same. Some people ban them outright, along with the use of the Double Team TM, which is what I do, at least until level 100 in a solo challenge. But hey, this is why I say wait until the end of the video. Everybody has different rules, not all runs are the same, and that's what makes them interesting. And now for our final team member, Krabby. This lucky little crab got both the Swords Dance and Body Slam TM. Great attack and defense, but the speed and special are lacking. Krabby is rolling with Crab Hammer, Body Slam, Guillotine, and Swords Dance. This is the team I'm rolling with, and I think they should be able to make it through this one, with maybe a death or two, but there's only one way to find out. Let's get into it. First is Lorelei. She leads Dugong and I'm going to lead Tentacool. Because I'm part poison type, she's only going to spam Rest because she sees it as super effective. After setting up 3 barriers, I should have just went for Surf when this thing began to snooze, but I make the stupid choice going for Wrap instead, and when I do use Surf, it barely hangs freezes on and heals up again with rest, so I swap to Krabby. I'm going to set up some sword stances and then go for some guillotine gaming. While I do hit Dugong with one, none hit Cloyster, which does confuse me with a supersonic, and although Krabby is confused, I thankfully never hit myself. It's able to 2-shot Cloyster, 2-shot Slowbro, 1-shot Jinx, and 1-shot Lapras. Easy first battle. Bruno is next. I just leave my cursor on Surf and get 5 1-shots. Tentacool is looking like the MVP of this run. Let's move on. Agatha is next, and this battle had me a bit worried. She tends to be very trolly and likes to confuse and put your Pokemon to sleep, and let's not forget Arbok and its glare, which can paralyze you, along with Golbat being able to take away badge boosts with Haze. And while she does do that to Bellsprout turn 1, it quickly snaps out of confusion. My plan is to put her Gengar to sleep like I do here, mimic Dream Eater, set up growth for badge boosts and increase the power of Dream Eater, and sweep. And that's exactly what happens. I know the league thus far hasn't been a challenge, but when you have some diversity on your team, even if it's only first form Pokemon, that tends to happen. Lance is last. The general rule is that if you have Thunderbolt and Ice Beam, he's a pushover, and while Staryu has Thunder and Blizzard and could have made this a pushover as long as each attack hit, I decided to roll with Tentacool. I'm going to be setting up barriers on Gyarados. It's going for Leer early on, badge boosting my other stats, and while it does go for Hyper Beam against me, had it crit, we would have been looking at another death possibly, but Tentacool doesn't struggle here. Aerodactyl is the only other Pokemon that outspeeds and could cause problems, especially because it uses Supersonic, but Tentacool doesn't hit itself until Dragonite, and even then, Dragonite is just going to spam Agility and Barrier, because Poison type, Psychic move, super effective. So let's move on to the champion. It's Staryu's time to shine, and this is why I said tune in until the end of the video. Against the lead Pidgeot, I set up a turn 1 minimize as it goes for Sky Attack. Thunder doesn't do Thunder things, hitting and critting to one-shot the bird. Alakazam is next, and I just go for Blizzard hoping to get a freeze, which I do get, and I can set up for free from here, and the battle becomes a cakewalk because Staryu has the right moves to give me super effective damage against his remaining party members, being able to 1 or 2-shot them, making this champion battle very boring and underwhelming. But what if I didn't take Staryu? What if I took Ghastly or another Pokemon instead? Would we still have a cakewalk through the league? And the answer is pretty much yeah. I'm not going to re-show the fights against the league because it's still deathless, but to briefly summarize them, Tentacool was able to solo Lorelei. While it was a bit of a slower battle, Rap and Surf got the job done. Abra was able to solo both Bruno and Agatha, and Ghastly was able to solo Lance. So there has to be a significant change if I'm showing you the champion battle, right? And there are a few. I'm leading with Krabby against Pidgeot. The plan was to set up 3 sword stances, hopefully outspeed and one-shot until at least Rhydon with Body Slam, but Pidgeot going for Sky Attack right away changed my plans, and while my Crab can take out the champion's lead, Body Slam barely can't take out Alakazam, thanks to its setting up Reflect, and we have our 6th death of the run. I decided to bring out Paris next, and made a mistake. I should have went for Spore, but just went for immediate Leech Life, completely forgetting about Recover. Alakazam then deals massive damage with Psybeam before Spore hits, but the Psychic type wakes up immediately, and Paris makes that death number 7. I send out Abra next, and while the battle is slow, Abra pulls out on top, and it's able to take care of both Rhydon and Arcanine. Although if Arcanine went for Takedown, that's probably death number 8, and even Exeggutor might have been able to kill off Abra, but I swapped to Ghastly, and the only move Exeggutor has that can hit Ghastly is Hypnosis. Thankfully mine hits first and the battle is over from here. I can take out the Coconut Tree with 4 Nightshades, and I have Thunderbolt for Blastoise. So without Staryu, I have 2 more deaths, but the league wasn't a struggle at all, and that's another Nuzlocke and video in the books for 2026. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. If you want to see me do this in other generations, let me know in the comments. I'm always looking for different ideas for Nuzlockes aside from the Monotype challenges. As always, thank you for the continued support on the channel. Special shout out to the channel members, and I'll catch you guys in my next one. Take care, everybody.